during that walk in the domain, Srila Prabhupada had a garland on, and he said, "This is very troublesome," and he took it off because it just had string on the back of the garland, no flowers. And so later, just before Prabhupada was leaving, Hariswari came into the kitchen where I was still there. Actually, the night before there was a nice Bhagavad Gita class, and Prabhupada was sitting very regally on the Vyasasana with his glasses and the Bhagavad Gita open before him. And the whole temple room was very crowded, and the Gita curtains were open. And one day he stood up and he said, "Why can't I see God?" very arrogantly. And Srila Prabhupada said, "Because you have your back to him." And he got on his case very heavily. This man had been standing with Radhagiri Hari, beautiful deities there, and he'd been standing with his back to them. So anyway, Prabhupada was giving a nice lecture, and the whole Vyasasana was covered with all sorts of presents that they brought for him. And I was standing right up next to him on the side of the Vyasasana. And Prabhupada asked for a glass of water, so I ran in quickly into the kitchen, I got a glass of water, and I came to the Vyasasana. And Prabhupada was looking so grave and serious and powerful. I was like this with a glass of water, and I couldn't actually hand it to Srila Prabhupada, I just put it on the side of the Vyasasana. And then, of course, Guru Kripa Swami was there, said, "Hand it to Prabhupada, you idiot!" Something like that. So Prabhupada's presence was sometimes very awe-inspiring. He was a very powerful personality. Anyway, I was standing by the Vyasasana, and one of the devotees who had been in the kitchen with me came back. He was punching me in the back and said, "Come on, they need you in the kitchen, get back in the kitchen." And I just ignored that because I thought maybe this would be the last time I can be with my spiritual master. He kept punching me in the back and I kept on ignoring him. I'm glad that I did. Because he left, Prabhupada left the next morning, and that was the last time I saw him. But as he was leaving, just before he was leaving, Hariswari came in the kitchen. He said, "Can you wash Prabhupada's eating utensils, Jitagarisa?" I said, "Well, there's no soap in the temple. Been so disorganized that there's no soap anywhere." So Hariswari said, "Just take these things out into the garden, get some dirt and clean them with the dirt." So that's why I had to clean Srila Prabhupada's eating utensils. No soap. But I'm glad that I did it. Very beautiful eating utensils. The night before, we were all gathered in his room. He was sitting behind a very low desk. There's a room about a quarter of the size of this room. There was probably 70 or 80 devotees in that room. They were all smushed together like this. And Prabhupada was sitting behind the desk, and they brought him a plate of prasad. And he was just sitting there, and he was taking little bits of puri and wrapping it around the sabji and popping it in his mouth without touching his lips. And all of his movements were very fluid and gracious and swan-like. I'd never seen anyone act like that before. And everyone in the room, of course, was staring at Prabhupada. Every movement, he was being scrutinized by about 70 or 80 devotees who were all eager to be with him. But Prabhupada didn't. He was completely relaxed and comfortable. He was with his disciples, and it was natural to him. And he picked up a little loafer of water and tipped it down like that and put it back. And then he'd finished eating. He put his hand in a big jar of, not gulab jams, what are they called? Round balls, just made of sandesh and then cooked them.
Simply one of course, rasgulas.
Rasgulas, yeah. And he gave everyone a rasgula. And then he turned to Hariswari and he said, "So, did you get one?" He said, "No, Srila Prabhupada." So Prabhupada gave Hariswari a rasgula in his hand. He was very loving, sweet personality, Srila Prabhupada. Actually, the day before, one of my godbrothers, who's now passed away, Kanamrita, Prabhupada had been in the bathroom taking a bath. He was still taking bucket baths he was probably at that time about 80 years old. He was still taking a bucket bath with cold water. I'd actually been in the bathroom the day before laying the tiles. That's how disorganised we were. And half the tiles still had grout that hadn't been taken off. Anyway, Prabhupada was in there, and somehow another Kanamrita, he thought nobody was in the bathroom, so he locked the door from the outside, and Prabhupada was in there. And so Prabhupada was calling out, "Who has done this, you rascal?" Kanamrita, he should crawled along the floor, flipped the latch, and ran away as fast as he could. Prabhupada is sometimes very scary to be with, very serious and awe-inspiring. So then, so Prabhupada was leaving and he was coming down the path on the outside of the temple. And two lines of devotees there, and one of the ladies gave me a garland. And Prabhupada was walking down the path. I looked at the garland and it had no flowers on the back of it, just like the garland he'd been wearing the day before. He'd taken off and said, "This is troublesome." So I didn't want to offer that to Srila Prabhupada. I hid it behind my back, and he was way out of sight down the other end somewhere. He came walking down very slowly and gracefully with his cane and his head tilted back like that. And then suddenly he just stopped right in front of me, scared the life out of me. And he bowed his head. And I didn't really know what to do. And then Harisari said, "Jitagarisa, Srila Prabhupada wants you to garland him." And so Prabhupada bowed his head to me, and I had to put that garland on Srila Prabhupada. Just so kind and loving, and then he could have easily just walked past, but somehow or another, because of my mood at that time, I was feeling very humble and that I had not had much association with him. And he just stopped there and he let me garland him like that. Obviously, he knew the hearts of everyone, Srila Prabhupada. I just read a book recently called I'll Build You a Temple. It's about the Juhu temple in Bombay or Mumbai. And there was Jitagarisa Swami at that time was a young brahmachari, and he hadn't met Srila Prabhupada very often. Prabhupada apparently couldn't have known anything about him. But one day he was in the room with Srila Prabhupada and other devotees. Prabhupada started imitating his voice and the way he chanted japa. Now, Srila Prabhupada knew the heart of all his disciples. He knew exactly who they were all the time. He had that vision. So anyway, later, just after Prabhupada left, we got in the car and drove to the airport, and we're all at the airport again. Prabhupada walked quite a long way to the airport from the car, and as he was walking, all the devotees were throwing flowers, and especially from the other group of devotees, they had carnations, and they were throwing them and they were bouncing off the back of Prabhupada's head, and he thought that was very offensive at the time. Anyway, Prabhupada walked into the airport and he sat down, and there was a whole group of the other devotees there and the ISKCON devotees. We're all there. Guru Kripa Swami was there, of course, and these other devotees, they had a very well-known lead singer from a very well-known group at that time. I can't remember the name of it. His name was Hari Rama, which is a great name. And Prabhupada was sitting down, and Hari Rama started singing a very low, sweet kirtan. And then Guru Kripa was standing there and he started ringing the kartals together, trying to jazz up the kirtan. So Prabhupada just turned and looked at him and said no. And Hari Rama kept on chanting this very low, sweet kirtan to Srila Prabhupada, which he seemed to be appreciating very much. And at the end of it, he took his garland off and he put it on Hari Rama. So Prabhupada liked all different sorts of kirtan. He liked very slow, sweet kirtans. He liked roaring kirtans. It didn't really matter. And then after that big kirtan, Prabhupada was sitting down in the waiting area by himself. His servant had gone off to do something with his ticket. He was just sitting there in there, and we're all upstairs looking down. And at that time, Prabhupada was just looking at people walking past and smiling. He had this beautiful, radiant, oceanic smile. And it was like beams of light were coming out from Prabhupada. It was that powerful, his smiling. And anyway, he was smiling at these people walking past. And then they would look at Prabhupada smiling, and they would smile back spontaneously. And at that point, you could see that their Christian consciousness was being awakened just by that exchange with Srila Prabhupada, and that was the start of their spiritual life in the beginning of their way out of the material world. Just that, it said 1 second's association with the pure devotee of Krishna can give you all perfection. And it said, not even 1 second, it said, lava matra sarasiti hoy, 1/11th of a second association with the pure devotee of Krishna, which is carrying Krishna within inside, that can give you all perfection in life. Brahmananda Bhagavanaji, Guru Krishna Prasade, Bhakti Lata Beach, at the very fortunate souls within this world, if they get the mercy of Krishna's pure devotee like that, then their spiritual life, their bhakti can begin. Anyway, Prabhupada was smiling at these people and they were smiling back. And that was the last I saw of Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.